Greetings everybody, welcome back to the Vintage Sewing Machine Garage channel. I'm making a video today and it's something I rarely ever make a video on. I don't think I've ever actually had a video on one of these. You are looking at a machine that I am not going to be giving a full restoration to. After a lot of consideration and attempts, this is one of the few that will get away from me. I will be parting this machine out and I can tell you it hurts me to my core to do it. But I cannot blame the seller, and I can't really blame the overall condition of the machine. This machine has been damaged in a way that I have not either been able to rescue or have decided I'm not willing to invest the time to rescue. So put yourself in my shoes and then ask yourself, maybe you would be willing to try it. Maybe there are some of you out there who have the skills to do this, but let me explain why. This is the white, and I'll tilt this up so you can see, the white 940, and it was built in, I'll have to look up the exact year, I want to say 1969, 1970, it's just a guess. I've got the lid off of the machine, and we're going to talk a little bit about, this is one of those hybrid machines, and I've done videos in the past showing you, if you have a hybrid machine, why you should restore it, and why you have to be extra careful, because sometimes the machines have, they've already started to replace some parts with plastic. And this machine actually this model does not really have a lot of plastic parts that could fail. In fact, this hand wheel, this is my little magnet. It's an extension magnet I use when I drop something and have to get it out of a machine or something. This is steel. Eventually they would change this over to plastic. Some of you may have machines with plastic hand wheels. Like I say, late 60s, early 70s, unless it was one of the Kenmores, most machines were doing what you see. Now when I went to pick this machine up, I lifted it. It was not in this, I took it out of the table. I wanted to transport it and took it out of the table. And I thought, gosh, this thing weighs less than a lot of the whites. A lot of the white machines are heavy, they're really beefy and all steel. But this machine does not have a plastic body. When I put my magnet to it, it is metal. Okay, it's not plastic, it's aluminum. And so that would have been a cost. That helped sell the machine as lighter in weight. So that's not a lowering in quality. You see a few things here. These little plastic levers that you push in to move the machine needle position for zigzag, they work. So I got the machine, I started squirting oil in it just to make sure, again, testing things to see if they would move. The needle position option, which this machine has, can be moved to the left, back to the center, or to the right. And I made sure that I lubricated it so it would move. It was a little stiff. I put some lubrication and it moves fine. Very often when you get a machine that can do multiple stitches, you often have issues with the the mechanical movement of the machine because they've been sitting a long time. And even if you can get, the straight stitch to work, you don't always find that the zigzag's working. You got to play with it. Well, to my surprise, this machine actually performs a zigzag stitch. In fact, like I say, after some oiling, I push in, I can move, I can adjust. I did a test and I have some zigzag stitches that the machine did. Again, the needle position lever moves. The feed dogs, I oiled this, but it was already moving. I could drop the feed dogs, so that was working. The tension dials, the whites, just like the Kenmores, have really nice, solid, strong, or durable tension assemblies. But this machine has another feature, and I thought, oh, maybe this is going to be an issue. If you look closely, and we're going to zoom in here, guys, so you can see, oh, I didn't mean to do that. Let's see. I'm going to zoom in on the dial. I want to show you something. This is the period, the late 60s, early 70s, when a lot of machines were trying to innovate because they wanted people to buy new ones. And there was a huge fashion craze that came into North America and in Europe. It was for knitwear. Knits have always been around, but they became hugely popular with fashion designers. And double polyester knits is something you can Google that for 1970s fashion. You see it all over the place. Very uncomfortable fabric, but they were very popular, right? And in part because they didn't have to be ironed. They were considered, easy maintenance for people who didn't want to have to constantly iron clothing. So sewing machine manufacturers innovated. And remember, these are non-computerized machines. And if you look here, you will see I have a dial here that I can turn, and it works also. The M is for straight stitch or normal sewing. Okay. And this only turns to the right. Anytime you're not sure about a dial, if you turn to the left, doesn't move, try it to the right. This one turns fine. You will also see a built-in button holder, and those can be problematic if they get stuck. Those I have found these can be really tough to deal with. But this one moves fine. When you get over into the little section where the red, I don't know if you heard, there was a particular click sound you just heard. The machine is now moving over into these red symbols, which are, there's a zigzag, there's a blind stitch, and a S for straight, and these are all stretch stitch options. So imagine with no computer, this machine could do stretch stitches, right? It would sew stitches forward, and then it would do a little bit of either a half stitch backward. And what it was doing was it was putting into the fabric. A stretch stitch is a stitch that has a little more slack in it. It's very secure, but it will move, and that's important in knit fabrics, right? If you have traditional sewing machine stitches, if you're not careful with knit fabrics, particularly if it's something you're going to move in like sportswear, it'll pop the stitches and the seams will just pop right out. So knits and woven fabrics behave differently, but that's not the point of this video. So this is working, and this is a mechanically very complex thing to have on a sewing machine. It can be a cause of a lot of problems, but this wasn't either. But look closely, guys. When I got the machine, the person who sold it to me was very nice and very honest. They basically said, hey, here's what we know about the machine. And they said, this knob doesn't engage, okay? This knob, it just spins. This is the stitch length control, right? And there should be some resistance here, right? Something you should have to push against. Now, if it was stuck, you wouldn't push it at all. You would, in fact, make sure, as I mentioned in other videos, you have to get behind this knob and make sure that the metal components, which are back there, are moving freely together, and then this should not have an issue moving. Well, I'm going to change the camera angle for you guys. Hold on with me just a second. Okay, I wanted to get a little closer here and let you guys see what I saw. Of course, the dial that you're looking at here, it's chrome colored, but it's not metal, right? It's plastic, and that's okay. In fact, knobs and levers on many vintage machines are plastic, and they were built very well as long as the metal components behind them move and function. If those are frozen and you force a knob, you're going to break something, and someone has. And the reason I believe this is, if you look closely, underneath the chrome coating, that's just sort of like a chrome paint that they put on the plastic, I see blue, right? And so they had this plastic underneath. Why is it gouged out? Well, I believe someone took a pair of pliers, this is my theory, and they grabbed a hold of it with pliers. Maybe they thought it was metal, and they forced it. And when they did, of course, they broke the plastic piece in the back that engages with the mechanism. So, I've had to get behind machines before, okay? And there are a couple of ways to do it. Sometimes you will see a machine, let me change the angle here just a bit, and there will be set screws here that you can remove, that you can pull the panel off to get behind here from the front. Sometimes you can't, or you can go behind. The other option that you often have with these machines is that any of these little dials, if you go around them all the way around, just go underneath, squat down and look, you will often see a set screw that's, it's flush mounted. You can take a small screwdriver and take it off and then get behind to see what's going on. But in this case, I thought, well, maybe I can just get this off and maybe find a replacement for it, maybe, who knows, White made a lot of machines. But I can't remove this, or I haven't figured out a way to remove it without damaging anything else. Why? Because there is no set screw. It was not designed to come off. So as I was inspecting the machine, I was looking, you know, the reverse works fine. If you guys will hold on, I'm going to give you the bird's eye. Okay guys, I've moved the camera. I'm going to move it once more. By the way, this is the top that was on the machine. It still had access screws. I could remove the top. You will notice that unlike many earlier machines, including earlier whites, there are no oiling holes in the top. You see, they've already started taking away our ability to maintenance our own machines. This is, you know, this is a long time ago. What is it, 50 years ago, a half century ago? Now, at least the lid can be removed. On new plastic machines, you often can't even remove the lid. So I wanted to go behind here. I thought, okay, well, there's got to be some way to get this out. Now, I'm going to show you what I found. I may need my little shop light here. So let me tilt. We'll tilt the camera forward. I want you to see what I was seeing. Bear with me here, guys. So, do you see? There's right behind the dial is a screw, right? It's sitting. Maybe just get that light out of our eyes. I don't know if that's helping or not. Okay, this right here. Okay. This right here is a screw that's attached to like a bushing. So I removed this screw, and I thought, okay, maybe that's where I can unlock all of this stuff here in the front. Well, I took the screw and the bushing off, and lo and behold, there is basically a large module, for lack of a better word, and it's metal, and it's connected to the stitch length regulator. And when I push back, you know, when you take the screw out, I could push back on this. And what I found, no kidding, is that when I go to try to, here we go, let's focus in, that would help. When I went to push back on this, I could see the panel on the front coming back, but it was all anchored into the mechanicals of the machine. In other words, I cannot see a place where I can remove this without disengaging it from the entire drivetrain. And I can't access that to disengage it. So this makes me really sad. And you don't hear me give up too often, guys. Now, this is something to mention to all of you. Let's get the angle back here. If you ever have a machine and you are not entirely sure, that you're going to be able to save it, please never ever just toss the machine away. There are a lot of valuable parts here. Now, I am going to harvest parts from this machine because when you do this, it's very helpful because sometimes you'll find a machine that is savable, right? But it's got a bad tension assembly, or it's not, you know, its bobbin winder is gone or broken. That's very helpful because you can save others. Even if you can't save a machine, you can save other machines. And vintage parts, when they're working, I think are always superior to modern replacements. Okay, I have used replacements when I had to, but I really like the originals. Now, that is really a message to those of you who restore machines. Maybe you're a hobbyist like me and you just really enjoy this. But what if you're not? What if you just have a machine and, well, I can't get it to work. I guess I'll just throw it away. Please never do that. First of all, you could donate it to a thrift store and make sure you tell them that it's not working. Maybe they have someone there at that store that can fix it and they can try. And if not, I can promise you there are sewing machine, they're often with vacuums or whatever, sewing vacuum shops. There are still some of those left in the US and Canada, and they work on sewing machines. And if you say, hey, I've got parts to a white 970, some of those places will gladly take them, and they might be able to keep other sewing machines in production. And just to let you guys know, I had taken and I was trying to test the stitch capability of this machine. And the funny part is, it would do zigzags, and I could, you know, I'm trying to see if it will hold its stitch length. And on the back, it looks a little better here. You can see this one with straight stitches. And you know, I had to put in a different bobbin case because the old one was a little stiff. but usually it's the zigzag stitches that look worse than the straight. But when you look at the straight stitches, guys, I'm not happy with this, right? This is not, I want to see what it does on its longest stitch length. Whites don't have super long stitch lengths, but it's the strangest thing I've ever seen. I've got a better zigzag than I do a straight stitch. That's really kind of backwards from what I'm used to seeing. But again, this machine has, I'm going to save its bobbin case, light bulb, what the heck. There's even a spool pin holder in the back that attaches to the machine. I can use that. I will save the hand wheel, and certainly that wonderful white motor bobbin, attachment. There are lots of pieces I can save for this machine because while some of these things were unique to this model, the tension assembly was used on a lot of white machines for quite a few years. So again, the old adage, waste not, want not, is important. So I just wanted to share this with all of you. Like I say, you've seen me struggle with machines. I still have a Kenmore free arm that I'm going to wait until spring because I got to get it outside to put any more cleaners and solvents on it. I can't use that stuff indoors. It's just too toxic. I don't like it. You don't want to inhale fumes from that stuff. But outdoors, I can do that type of work. And of course, you saw the little Singer 185J, the little green machine that I literally had to submerge in different products trying to get it to unlock, and I got it to come back to life. So I don't give up easy. But again, this is an example of planned obsolescence, even back then. If only I could even do a search for this part. But again, to disassemble the entire drivetrain of this machine, I have to be able to get into it. And I'm not entirely clear. It is possible to take off the back cover, the piece that covers the motor. And if any of you have ideas, let me know. If you've ever had to do this before, I've never had to disassemble the drivetrain to get to a knob. And this was done on purpose. They were already trying to at least keep owners from maintaining machines. They were really pushing you to go into the service center. And I have no idea what the labor would be on this. Obviously, I'm doing this myself. If you had to pay for a sewing store to do the labor on that kind of repair, some repairs are not bad. Always get an estimate, but I don't know. But like I say, this surprised me. Usually it's something like this device that really screws your machine up. One of the only other machines I've ever had to give up on was some years ago. It was a friend of mine, and she brought it over. She's a fellow vintage machine lover, and she had a try at it, and she brought it over to see if I could work on it, and it was not a white, but it was a Japanese machine of this era, and it had a built-in buttonholer, and the buttonholer was jammed, and we couldn't really figure out how to disassemble it without taking apart parts of the drivetrain that may not have been meant for us to disassemble. We don't know. But all of us, we all reach a dead end sometimes when it comes to either how much we know or how much are we willing to do to save a machine, and it really bugs me. But again, just to emphasize, if you ever end up with a machine like this, please, before you send anything to a metal recycler, in this case there's an awful lot of steel and aluminum here, really, seriously, give it every shot you've got. Let someone else try. Take it to a sewing center. Maybe just say, hey, can you fix this? Here, if you can, sell it, save it. And if they cannot, they can certainly use these parts, because they're very valuable, and if you ever go to buy them online, they're not super expensive, but vintage parts are great, and there's so many great parts to this great machine. And unfortunately, the engineers, I'm sure someone told them that they had to do it this way. Maybe it was a cost saving, I don't know. Any of you who see the video, put your comments in there and tell me what you think. Tell me if you've ever had to deal with something like this. Is there a way to go in the side of the machine? I know I can take this cover off, but what happens if this piece gets taken out? Can you put it back? And is it worth me spending hours to try? Or would you spend hours to try it? Maybe that's the best way to ask. I appreciate you watching, everyone. So appreciate it. We've getting some nice sunlight now. I know the days are getting longer. It's going to be really nice to see those beautiful long sunny days coming back. Thank you again for supporting the channel. Stay tuned. We got a milestone coming up. That was not the milestone. That was me bumping into my camera. We have a milestone coming up with viewership, and I'll be announcing something on that soon. But anyway, stay tuned. Again, share your comments. Tell me what you think. I've got more videos planned coming up, and we will see you soon. Take care.